Dune Messiah is officially on the way, as Deadline, one of the most reliable sources for news in Hollywood, have revealed in their recent article that Legendary are in development on a final Dune movie from director Denis Villeneuve. Alongside this, we got news that the director is aiming to adapt the best-selling book Nuclear War: A Scenario, and that film will follow the release of his Messiah one. But what does this mean for the release date of Dune Messiah, and will he work on his Rendezvous with Rama project first, a film that has been in development for some time and one that is closer to filming than the other two? In this video, I'm going to be discussing all of the latest news, giving my own thoughts on the announcement of Messiah, and diving into a potential release date window. Before I get into it though, if you want to keep up to date on any of my future content surrounding Dune Messiah and beyond, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating and subscribing to the channel. But without further ado, let's dive into the confirmation news for Dune Messiah. So since the release of Dune Part 2, we've been wondering when we would hear about the final film in Denis Villeneuve's planned trilogy with Dune Messiah. Not only did Part 2 succeed, it's on track to nearly double the box office gross of Part 1, and you would think that Legendary and Warner Brothers would be all in with the next one in announcing that film in the weeks ahead. Now of course, Messiah is a story that calls for a break before getting to see it, as for one, it takes place over a decade after the events of Dune Part 2 and concludes nearly 16 years after. But we've already seen Denis make changes to the Dune material for it to work on the big screen, and you'd think he'd do the same with a book as challenging as Dune Messiah. It's not just a question of time though, because the director himself has already stated that he's working on numerous projects alongside his final Dune film, including an adaptation of Arthur C. Clarke's Rendezvous with Rama. So it's left us asking, how would this all work, and when will we get to see his Dune Messiah film? Well, last night, we got our first update on the project. Deadline, probably one of the most reliable sources in Hollywood, have confirmed that Dune Messiah is now in development, and that Denis Villeneuve has also added another project to his growing list of films. In their article, the outlet said, in a deal worth $500,000 against $1.5 million, Legendary Entertainment has optioned Pulitzer Prize finalist Annie Jacobson's non-fiction book Nuclear War: A Scenario as a potential reteam with its Dune Part 2 director Denis Villeneuve. The expectation is that Villeneuve would take this one as another giant project after he completes Messiah, which he and Legendary are developing as the conclusion of the trilogy. I'll come on to that Nuclear War project towards the end of this video, but starting with Dune Messiah, it is promising to hear that the film is now in early development. Now yes, this confirmation has not come from Warner Brothers like it did a few years ago with Dune Part 2, but it does make sense that we're hearing this through Deadline, because as I said, Denis is likely going to be working on another project first. All of the director's recent interviews have signalled that he wants to make his Rama adaptation next. So that would mean that Warner Brothers and Legendary would probably wait to officially post about Messiah or talk about a potential release date. And this brings me on to discussing a potential release date window for Denis Villeneuve's Messiah film. Now, I have already spoken about my predictions for this in multiple videos since the release of Part 2, and even though things may change when it comes to the director's current schedule, like for instance that he might decide to focus on Messiah before Rama, I think I'm sticking with the original timeframe that I predicted before. I said that in 2025 or 2026 we'd see his Rama film, and then between 2027 or 2028, we'd finally get his adaptation of Dune Messiah. The reason I predicted this was that Denis normally releases a film every 2 to 3 years, minus Dune 2021, which released in a difficult time during the pandemic. And with it being mentioned recently that his Rama script is almost complete, I'd expect that to go into production first. It would allow for a break between Dune Part 2 and Messiah, and while it's not the 12 years that the book calls for, it still allows for a bit more time so that the actors can age up a bit. And don't forget, they can also use makeup and other filmmaking tools to aid that process too. There is a big question surrounding the character of Elia Atreides because she is 16 by the time that Messiah book ends, and she's also in a growing relationship with another character from that book, which fans have claimed might be a bit weird given the overall time frame. Well, again, Denis is likely going to make changes to the material, and Messiah itself is a book that calls for a lot of that when it comes to adapting it for the big screen. I'm not quite sure how he's going to pull it all off, because if he reduced the time jump between Part 2 and Messiah, Elia would have to be even younger, and that wouldn't line up with Anya Taylor-Joy playing someone even younger than 12. So there are some big things he will have to adjust to make this all work. But after the success of Part 2, I doubt we're going to be waiting 12 years for that final film. I think a likely sweet spot is 2027 or 2028, and I think Denis will make changes that both honour the material and make this a good film adaptation. As a whole though, it's great news for Denis Villeneuve, his team, and us Dune fans that Messiah looks to be happening. We've been calling for a Messiah film to complete the arc of Paul Atreides, and all the success, the work done on the previous movies, and the growing support from the fans has led that into fruition. I honestly cannot wait to see what the director, his team, and the cast do with this final film, and I'm fascinated to see how they tackle the heavy character work on display, the twisting plot points, and even some of the added strangeness of Messiah on the big screen. Dune Part 2 ended with Timothée Chalamet's Paul Atreides, a messianic figure at the heart of the series, sending his Fremen up to start a holy war. And the Dune Messiah book follows the aftermath of that war, the conspiracy set up against Paul, and his own struggles surrounding power, his visions, and the push for an heir. I wonder how weirder characters like Hate, Sightale, and Edric will be introduced in that film, alongside whether Denis will tackle any of the Holy War before we move into the political events of the novel. Again, Messiah is set 12 years after the events of Part 2, and the length of that material is much shorter than Herbert's first Dune book. So I'd expect the director to make some big alterations to it, and I think you have to for Messiah to work as a film adaptation. I have done multiple videos discussing this in more detail already, so if you want more on Messiah, I'd definitely check out my recent video where I talk about the potential of the film, and then I'd also watch the one I did a few weeks ago where I talked about what I want from the final installment when it comes to adapting its events. I will link both videos in the pinned comment section of this upload if you want to go check them out. But yes, it's going to be interesting to see how Dune Messiah is tackled, and of course I will be keeping you up to date on any news surrounding the film, so make sure you don't miss any of it. But coming now to the other update that this Deadline article touched on, Denis Villeneuve is apparently looking to make an adaptation of the recent bestseller Nuclear War: A Scenario by Annie Jacobsen. Deadline said that the book explores a ticking clock scenario about what would happen in the event of a nuclear war. It's based on dozens of exclusive new interviews with military and civilian experts who built the weapons, have been privy to the response plans, and have been responsible for those decisions should they need to be made. Now, I haven't read this book, but I've heard that it's a current bestseller on the New York Times, and that it provides a very thrilling telling for the start of an atomic war. The article said that Denis is looking to follow up Dune Messiah with an adaptation of this book, and to be honest, I think this is a really good choice for him as a later project to work on. Last year, it was the year of Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, and that told the story of the atomic bomb's development alongside all the guilt and grief of its creator, J. Robert Oppenheimer. The ending of that film stressed on the fear towards these weapons being used in the future, and now director Denis Villeneuve is looking to do a film on what might happen in the world today if it did come to that. Deadline also said the expectation is that Villeneuve would look to adapt and/or direct Nuclear War, producing with his longtime partner Tanya Lepoint. The expectation is that this would be a chilling cautionary tale about where the world might be headed in an age of political volatility at a time where too many countries have nuclear capabilities. Oppenheimer dealt with the title character and other scientists' knowledge they could be introducing weaponry that could destroy the world. A nuclear Armageddon could finish the job. So we're going to have to see how this project develops and how it fits into Denis Villeneuve's busy schedule. I do worry that with 3 projects on his radar, it may become overwhelming for him as a director. Having Rendezvous with Rama, Dune Messiah, and Nuclear War all in stages of development is a lot to think about and grapple with when it comes to film ideas and planning. But if anyone can pull that off, it is someone like Denis Villeneuve, who we forget years ago had released 2 amazing films in the same year with Prisoners and Enemy. He's a filmmaker that of course does a great job of directing, but he's also very good at working with different screenwriters when it comes to the adaptation process. So hopefully all of these projects turn out to be great films like those in the rest of his filmography, and I'm sure that in the year ahead we might get a better idea of what his next film will actually be. But that was my video discussing the confirmation of Dune Messiah. Like I said, I think it will be a while before we get more on Villeneuve's Messiah film, as there will be likely a bit of time between both part 2 and the final movie, and there are other projects like his Rama one which he will likely work on first. Regardless of when we get Messiah, it's great that Denis now has a chance to finish his Paul Atreides trilogy, and if it ends up being as good as part 1 or 2, I think we'll be left with one of the greatest cinematic trilogies of all time. We'll have to see what happens when it comes to the release date window of his Messiah film, and like I said, I think we're looking at around 2027 or 2028 for a potential release date if the director does make his Rama film first. But let me know down below in the comment section what your thoughts are towards the confirmation of Dune Messiah, alongside how you would like to see Frank Herbert's second novel adapted. For much more videos and news on Denis Villeneuve's Dune universe, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.